I hope you like blood, because we got a lot of it this week. We start off this week basically where we left off last week. You know, we have Slightly caring for Arthur. He thinks he's going to be just fine. You know, like Morrow says, he's just going to have a bad couple days. Clearly that's not going to be the case, but he even tries to like care for him, and he tries to feed him. It's like liquefied food or whatever, like something you would feed a prisoner in Guantanamo Bay. Someone who doesn't want to eat. He like moves the legs of the face hugger to the side trying to get the food in, and it like leaks out down over his neck. It was pretty gross, but actually it's totally not gross relative to everything else in this episode. What a bloodbath. Slightly's just like, Arthur, I thought you might be hungry. Man, these kids, they're such kids. And as we cut to the next scene, when the cleanup team is like going into the lab and cleaning up, you know, Isaac's mess, one of them just like, you know, they zap the flies, and then as they keel over, one just goes and scoops it up with a dustpan. I thought that was hilarious. That was a nice touch. Could have been anything. They could have used some fancy sci-fi cleanup tool, but no, just a dustpan, a plastic dustpan. And then we have Kirsch, or Timmy Symphony, as I said last week, my notes auto-corrected to, is, you know, talking to Cavalier and explaining, like, what happened to Isaac. And he says Isaac first, and then he's like, Cavalier's like, what? And then he says Toodles, like the stupid Lost Boys name, this obsession, you know, with Peter Pan that Cavalier has. And then then he gets it, and then he goes and sees the body and everything. It just shows how disconnected Cavalier is, and we see that more and more through the episode. And then as Wendy comes in the room and discovers Isaac's body too, she's just like, what happened to Isaac? And then Kirsch is like, science. It's like so matter of fact, and I guess it kind of was science in a way. And then Wendy, you know, decides to escape the island with Hermit, with her brother. And then she goes to get Nibs, and Curly's there. Curly doesn't want to go. You know, I guess we could see that coming a mile away in the last few episodes. But then she asks, like, you're not going to tell on us, are you? Like, I love the way they're such kids. Like, the way they, like, an adult wouldn't say it like that, right? It just, a very kid thing to say. And then she asks if she's going to tell on them. She says no, and she makes her promise. Wendy clearly doesn't believe her. The way I understood that scene, the way I took it, was that's why she released the xenomorph, because she's like, Curly's going to tell on us. And when she does, you know, the Prodigy soldiers are going to come after us. So she just was like, oh, let me let a fucking xenomorph out. And like not really thinking of the ramifications of that. Although maybe she was, in a way, where she's just like, she feels like the mom to this thing. So she wants it to probably leave the island with them, which is crazy. But we'll see more next week. Maybe she's just using it to get off the island, like I said, because she knows that Curly's going to tell, and then they're going to, you know, come after them. And this, like they did when they got to the boat. So yeah, I'm not sure which it is, but either way, she's fucking crazy for letting that thing out. All of this just goes to show Prodigy and Cavalier's complete incompetence. You know, him getting distracted with the aliens, and like kind of a total, no one's really looking after these kids. And like, you know, she has this ability to like do things like let the xenomorph out through the screens. Like, I know they didn't give that to her, but she's a hybrid. They have full control over her. You know, the trackers are gone, but they have full control over everything else. Like, they could have removed, I assume, that ability a long time ago. But, you know, like when she was watching her brother and doing all these things, they knew she had it. But I'm guessing they just like were more interested in learning about how she could do it. Or I forget the exact reason that they gave on why they're not doing anything about it. But yeah, Prodigy and Cavalier's incompetence is just like on full display here. And it's a long time coming for all of this to happen. Every decision they've made, every time they neglected the kids, every time Cavalier and his team get distracted by the aliens as opposed to focusing on their original project, very ADHD, just goes to show like this was always going to happen pretty much. Then we get Slightly and Smee taking Arthur's body, you know, off the island, or at least to the beach to go meet Morrow. And then they just like, you think it's going to be this funny scene where Kirsch doesn't see Arthur like in the corner when he goes to talk to them. And like, just when you think that that's how it's going to play out, Kirsch just looks over his shoulder and he's just like, you're going to be late. it was like, what is going on? Like, what is Kirsch's play here? I'm so curious. I was so curious. I guess we still don't really know where he's headed with that. Sort of, maybe he just wanted to capture Moro. They kind of had this rivalry when they were meeting. The two corporations were meeting with the mediator. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with that next week. But it was just at this point in the show, like in this episode, we don't really know what he's doing. Like, why is he trying to help them? He's like, you're going to be late. So I'm really curious to see more of that storyline next week. Then we get this super fascinating scene at the gravestones. They're trying to escape the island, and they run into their bodies, essentially. And it just was this kind of potent moment because it means different things for different people. Like, for Hermit, I kind of got the impression that maybe where it was leading over the rest of the episode and the next episode was that, is this really his sister? Like, he has proof right there. Like, there's his sister's body. It's like right in his face. And they've kind of had this conflict simmering under the surface last episode and this one, just not seeing things eye to eye. And I'm really curious if that kind of plays out more as this goes on, because that was the impression I got of how he kind of felt. Because he didn't say much. He just kind of looked at it. And he went and moved the dead flowers to the side or whatever. And then he's like, we got to move on. And then, you have Wendy and Nibs, and they both take it in a different way too. It's just interesting how that scene can play out so differently in the heads of these different characters, because it means different things for each of them. It was pretty cool. But yeah, it really makes me think that Hermit might kind of have a change of heart moment there and realize that Wendy isn't really Marcy. And that's kind of how I've always taken it anyways, is like, if you were to clone yourself, like, it's not your consciousness being transferred over where you get to continue your life or whatever. Like, it's just a copy of you. So you still die. What you perceive as you, the way you live life, you're gone. It's just a different version of you. I always took it that way. I don't know if they've made it clear, but that's who Wendy is. She's a copy of Marcy's consciousness, but she doesn't have Marcy's soul. It's not the same person, just has her memories and her, the way she thinks, all those kinds of things. Then we get the scene where Arthur wakes up, and this scene was really rough because you really like Arthur. Like, he's such a good guy, and he's, good-hearted, and he really cares about the kids and stuff, and he's looking out for them. He helps Hermit in the last episode, all this stuff, right? Turns off the trackers. The kids lie to him. They're trying to get him to go to the beach to kind of finish this off, even though at this point it's already doomed. The whole thing's doomed. It took too long for them to get there, and the Xeno's gonna come out. You're just kind of waiting for that moment to happen, like that. You can feel that tension there. But then he gives this kind of like speech where he says he knows they're lying. They're kids. It's obvious. And he's just a good parent to them. Dame is a great mom to them, and he's kind of a good dad to them. And that really shows in this moment. And just, it really, kind of got to me, that speech he gives is so like, I don't know, just kind of pulled me in and wanted me to agree and say, yeah, you know what, let's do that. And the kids kind of do start following him. And then his chest explodes. And it almost for a moment, you like forgot that was going to happen. But you also feel that tension rising in the background, that suspense that it's going to probably come at any moment. But you almost forgot about it for a second when he gives that speech. And yeah, that was rough. That was really sad to see that. Arthur was a good guy. R.I.P. Arthur. We're going to miss you. Even though you were a dead man walking. And just like Arthur's a good dad, Dame is a great mom. We kind of get this full circle moment where Curly goes to her. She's scared. She doesn't know what to do. And she calls her mom. And you can tell, we know that Dame and Arthur really want to have kids, but they can't. And that was just a cool moment for her. You could see it on her face and in her body language, how much that meant to her. So that was cool. We kind of got that moment for both of them, both parents. Something's going to happen to Dame next episode. It has to. I'm wondering if, which we'll get to, but Cavalier and wanting to put the eye in a human so he can have that magical intellectual conversation that he really wants to have with someone superior or just as smart as he is, which he seems to think this octopus alien is. I wonder if it's Dame that he's going to put the eye in. Because for them to put the suspense there and make us wait for next week, who's going to be? What's his plan? It has to be somebody we care about, someone we know, someone where it'll be meaningful. So I imagine it's probably Dame. Or maybe he knows that Moro's been captured and he'll put it in Moro. That could work. I don't know if he knows that yet though, because that Kirsch it seemed like Kirsch kind of went rogue with all that. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But back to Dame, that was a cool moment for her to kind of have that come full circle. She's a good mom too. And holy shit, T. Oculus, my boy, knows pi. This guy's so smart. Like, he's way more intelligent than I thought he would be, or whatever. But yeah, like, it's so terrifying. Like, he just communicating with this goat with his bulging eye and just knowing how intelligent it is now, which we had an inkling of before, but not really, not to this extent. So yeah, that I kind of mentioned it already, but like, I'm really excited about next week to see where that's going to end up. That's probably the thing I'm the most interested in. They've really kind of put, also it's like front and center. So I'm really excited to see more of that. But that scene was pretty crazy. Cavalier's dumb. He's so dumb. Like, the incompetence is wild. Then we get this final altercation at the boats, and it's like a total bloodbath. We get like, it's a kind of Mexican standoff, and then the one guy like insults Nibs, and then like takes Mr. Strawberry or whatever and throws it in the water, and she's just so fucking crazy at this point that she just grabs him by the jaw and rips out his jaw. Like, what the fuck? That was crazy. That was cool as fuck though. But yeah, it just a kind of a great place to end and get ready for next week. This is going to be a really good season finale. I can't wait. But I forgot to mention too, like, we have Wendy using the Xeno that she let out and just killing everybody. Like, it doesn't get there at the end. She calls it, but we don't see it show up yet. But earlier in the episode, it totally saves their ass. And it's like, just obliterates these people. Crazy, man. Next week's going to be even crazier. I can't wait. Yeah, but Jesus Christ, Nibs, that was a lot. That's going to do it for this week. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know your time's valuable, so I appreciate you spending it with me. And I'll see you guys next week for the season finale. Too bad, so sad. Gonna miss this show. All right, thanks, guys. See you next week.